All right, good morning. Thanks for joining us. You're at the Finance and Physical Resources Committee, and it's a little after 8:30 on Tuesday, June 18. Our first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak? Please state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
How you guys doing? I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. So I'm very, very excited for the future of esports and video games and just tech. And I've won 2 international visionary awards. I've won global business awards. I've been able to help book large events. We had events canceled, but we still got one opportunity to bring another esports finals, a 7-figure competition where people will actually earn the salary of 6 figures gaming. And that could be here in the state of Michigan. We got one last chance to do it December 28th. And I know it's an election year. I know you guys are busy trying to help the presidential candidates. You guys as parties help. But this stuff that I'm helping bring to the community benefits everybody, regardless of party, regardless of what you believe in, regardless of your religion or any of that stuff. These things benefit us economically. It helps build culture. It helps build community. I spend a lot of cash going around city to city, going to these events, speaking to thousands of colleges to try to connect these organizations to this esports league, and I'm very happy because I've been able to help GRPS start esports, and so we're going to have a bunch of esports labs built around our community. And I just hate that I put in so much energy and time and effort to do these things, and I really don't get the support from my community, from my elected officials. I feel like sometimes I work harder than y'all for the community. I've seen a lot of stuff around our community, like that time that the people got killed at the tin can. I was there when I seen those 2 people get shot at the tin can. I watched all of the white people scream. I watched all of the people get scared. I didn't even know you had to go out of the stairs in the bottom of the tin can. I really watched 2 people get killed around my community. I've seen a lot of shootings, but I'm not scared because I'm so used to seeing shootings. Things like that don't scare me because I'm so used to seeing violence and so used to seeing people get shot that it's just like a typical thing to me. And so I don't ask you guys to do these things, and I don't develop the Youth Justice Influence League where it's a volunteer program where I develop a program for kids on probation and surveillance because I know on the north side and the south side, that's where a lot of the crime and that's where a lot of the youth is. And that's where Kent County is having a lot of problems with our youth. I know these things because I sit down with the government and I develop these programs, and I do this completely free for our community. So if I can do all of these things for our community, why can't I get you guys' help? Why can't you guys help me unplug some of these bad seeds? Because I see the problems before they unfold, and then they unfold in front of me. And then I ask my community to help me, and then you guys just leave me stranded. And eventually, what if I leave? Who's going to stand up? Who's going to be the face? Who's going to be able to help these other people? Who's going to develop these opportunities? Because if I never created these opportunities, it would have never happened. It's crazy.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from June 4 and auditing of checks and purchase order activity. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Sparks, supported by Commissioner McLeod. Any changes to the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item, number 3, comes from the Administrator's Office, and it's Property Development Rights Grants and Contributions for the Norman property.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $310,000 to the 2024 Agricultural Preservation Budget in the Special Projects Fund from the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Services Agricultural Conservation Easement Program grant of $89,900. Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development grant, $120,800, and a landowner donation, $99,300 for the purchase of development rights, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreements, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriations not to exceed 15% of the original awards. Summary. NRCS notified the county that it will award up to $89,900 for the Norman property, and MDARD notified that it will award up to $120,800. The landowner notified the county of a donation up to $99,300. The term of the federal grant award is March 1, 2023 through March 31, 2026. The term of the state grant award is March 1, 2024 through September 30, 2025. The Agricultural Preservation Board has funds in the Grand Rapids Community Foundation to cover the closing costs. The Norman property application was scored by the Agricultural Preservation Board using the 2023 selection criteria approved by the Board of Commissioners per Resolution 5/11/2347. Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form.
All right, thanks, Sal. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod, support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Wooden. Questions or comments regarding this item? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item, number 4, from the Facilities Department, it's the CIP Transfer to Human Services Parking Lot Replacement Project.
Action requested. Approve the transfer of $116,334.98 to the Human Services Parking Lot Replacement Capital Improvement Program, CIP, from the 82 Ionia Parking Deck Repairs CIP in the FY 2024 CIP Fund budget. Summary. Bids for the Human Services Parking Lot Replacement CIP were received on May 23, 2024, and the lower bid exceeds the funds currently appropriated to the project to complete the work. The 82 Ionia Parking Deck Repairs CIP was completed, and the remaining funds can be transferred to support the Human Services Parking Lot Replacement CIP. Per the county CIP policy, transfers of $25,000 or more from one project to another must be approved by the Finance and Physical Resources Committee.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Hildenbrand. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Wooden. Pretty straightforward here. Any questions or comments? Commissioner McLeod?
Quick question. So what was the initial set aside in CIP for this? Because this is just dealing with the increase in cost, so.
Right.
Maybe Mark Rambo here can answer that for us.
Yeah. Sorry, we don't have that data at our fingertips, but we can send it to you with the CIP number.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Item number 5 comes from the Health Department, and it's the South Clinic Remodel Capital Improvement Program.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the establishment of the South Clinic Remodel Capital Improvement Program. Appropriate and transfer $301,850 from the FY 2024 Health Fund budget to the South Clinic Remodel CIP in the FY 2024 CIP Fund budget. Summary. The Health Department previously received grant funding to be utilized for a remodel of the South Clinic. Being capital in nature, the remodel project must be recorded in the Capital Improvement Program Fund. It is requested that $301,850 of grant funding be appropriated and transferred to a new capital project for the South Clinic Remodel CIP.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wooden. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Hildenbrand. Any questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate seeing this come before us. I was wondering if we could at least get a little bit of a detail of what remodeling for the South Kent Clinic will be paying for with this grant. And just a little bit more description of the work.
I remember many years ago, the clinic used to be the Kentwood Library. So went from library to clinic, and
That's right, and it's been a great partnership with the city of Kentwood for us to receive that property, which was a little over 10 years ago, and repurpose it for a clinic, which has been tremendous in that part of the community. It's been 10 years already, and we're now looking to make that space more patient-centered, using some lessons learned from the North County location. We're also looking to modernize it somewhat because we're using workspaces differently now, with many people working in a hybrid manner and having some hoteling locations there. People who are working remotely can use that space in a less predictable way than what work has been for some who work in the field in that area. And we also have Blake here from facilities who can talk a little bit more about the structural changes that are going to be in place there.
Good morning. A couple of the issues that we have down at the South Clinic are, I don't know if any of you have ever been through there, but kind of the HIPAA regulations and what those kind of supersede. All the patients tend to walk right through the staff areas where everybody's working. A lot of the staff have their back and their laptops open while staff or customers are walking through, which creates a kind of a controversy there as far as what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. It also doesn't create any privacy for the staff. So at the South Clinic specifically, we're going to create a barrier there to kind of break that up and make it better for that privacy so that everybody's not seeing everybody's business, and kind of update that and kind of the way that the staff work. It will look similar to the North Clinic where the staff have that kind of walled off area, but they'll lose a conference room. Right. And we'll create a hoteling area for staff that are dropping in. So. Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to just expand upon that just a little bit. The North Clinic, I think, is great with the partnerships that you guys have been able to do with other county departments. And are we gonna, I heard the hoteling thing, I just think that's excellent. So is there a plan to do some of that where it fits with the work that you're doing at South with the new space as well? Adam, you mentioned some of the kind of lessons learned up there.
Yes, absolutely. And that space works really well, especially for our home visiting nurses in that program, along with health educators and sanitarians who be working in the field in that area, where over the past 10 years, the change in our office space, you guys would be, you commissioners, I apologize, would be astounded at the radical change that we have and the improved use of technology that we have in our office spaces. We had files that were taking up a quarter or half of our workspaces. Those are all gone. And now the connectivity and the technology interface is so much more important in our workspaces. And so reconfiguring those so that they're more conducive to, say, a sanitarian who's in the area. So instead of having to come back to 700 Fuller in order to do their work at the end of the day, to finish paperwork on the computer, they can go to a hoteling station there at South or at North and check in and finish their day there. We save a lot of time and mileage by doing that.
Yeah, I think that's great, especially we know that many of your customers are folks that might have mobility challenges for whatever reason, transportation challenges. So I think that's great that we can try to do that in one stop. So thank you very much.
What is the timeline on this project, and how will our guests be impacted by it?
With the South Clinic in particular, the bids are due back today at 2 o'clock, and then we'll know more about when the contractors can get in. We're hoping early fall, late summer to start that one. That should be about an 8-week process. We have a plan to temporarily set up the staff during the construction so that the clinic does not lose service. We'll wall it off and make it safe so that customers can still go through there just like normal. And then when that one's done, we'll jump into the main clinic, but having that hoteling space will allow staff to be moved down there, give them drop-in spots north, south, while we tear apart the main clinic.
All right.
So it shouldn't be any disruption to actual service to customers.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. We're on to item number 6, also from the Health Department. It's the Kent County Draft Opioid Settlement Spending Plan for years 1 and 2.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the draft opioid settlement spending plan, years 1 and 2, and authorize the county administrator or designee to approve plan amendments. Summary. Kent County is estimated to receive a total of $11,976,000 through December 31, 2038, based on settlements with opioid manufacturers and distributors. To date, $4,591,324 has been received and $97,390 of interest has been earned. The settlement dollars are intended to address the negative community impact of overprescription and overdistribution of opioids. The settlements defined approved uses of the funds and the schedule of payments to Kent County. The Health Department, Opioid Task Force, Fatality Review Committee, and other impacted county offices and departments developed a draft plan for the board's consideration, which recommends investing $757,000 in year one and $855,000 in year two on priority community needs. The draft investments align with eligible uses that support high-priority prevention, treatment, recovery, harm reduction, and cross-sectional services in the community. Staff will provide the board and the community with quarterly updates on plan implementation and will notify the board of any adjustments to the plan. The Health Department, Kent County Opioid Task Force, Fatality Review Committee, and partner county offices and departments will develop future additional spending recommendations for board consideration and approval.
All right, thanks, Sal. Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wooden. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Hildenbrand. Questions or comments regarding this item? We do have members from the task force here and Health Department and Network 180 that'd be happy to answer any questions or respond to anything you have. Yes, Commissioner Kallman.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious, having read through the plan, there's a lot of good and helpful things happening with these settlement dollars. And I'm just curious, as the timeline of the settlement dollars runs out, some of these programming pieces seem to be directly related to kind of the crisis levels we've had with opioids in recent years. Others, though, seem like long-term helpful things. Is there alternate sources of funding that are considered? I know this is a number of years out, but to continue some of these things in the future after these funding streams run out?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and we are already beginning to think about the sustainability of programs. Some of them are already in place, and the volume of need will vary over time depending on the trends in the epidemic in Kent County. But we do want to be prepared for what the needs are after these funds are all spent, and we're beginning to research that now so that we can be prepared. And what we invest in over the course of the next 10 plus years could vary, and what programs are new programs or new opportunities are available could change how we address sustainability too, but it's on our minds.
Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, thank you for putting together this report. I think it's really helpful to understand kind of how the thought process was of the committee in terms of developing the strategy for utilizing these funds. So I see that we've received almost I would say about 4.7 million so far. You're allocating about 1.6, so there's still some funds remaining. So could you speak to how those remaining funds will be used, and then also how the priorities for year one and year two were developed and how they'll potentially change? And I know we've had this discussion, but I just want to bring that forward as well.
Yeah, so the way the settlements themselves define the rate at which the funds come to us. So some of the companies involved in the settlement front-loaded their payments, so we're getting more in the first couple of years than in the out years. So it's a lot in the account currently for that reason, and in the coming years it'll be a smaller dollar amount per year based on the settlement. As far as how future dollars will be spent, we plan to use a similar process as we did this year with engaging the Opioid Task Force and the Fatality Review Committee and other county departments and offices to continually reassess and re-examine the data and the needs in the community and their experience as service providers, and bring additional investments for your consideration and approval. And I'll have Rachel talk just a little bit more about how the task force approached that this time around.
Yeah, good morning. Rachel Jantz, epidemiologist at the Kent County Health Department. So with the prioritization of the initial priorities for spending, we engaged the opioid task force, which has been meeting since 2016. So they're subject matter experts in what's going on in the opioid epidemic in Kent County and have been engaged in initiatives over a long period of time. So they had an idea of what gaps in services and investments were needed in Kent County. The overdose fatality review has been meeting since 2022, and so we engaged them as well because they have a really great understanding of what actually happens during a patient's journey. And so we went through a prioritization process with both of those groups in going back and forth as to what were the top 10 priorities that those groups would like to see these investments go toward in the first 2 years. And then we went back and forth with Kent County administration to make sure that those aligned with the way that Kent County administration would also like to see those investments, in the ways that perhaps Kent County departments would also need investments around the opioid epidemic. Moving forward, we're going to continue to do a prioritization process with the overdose fatality review and the Kent County opioid task force, as well as taking more time to engage community residents that aren't a part of these two groups to understand further as to what community members would like to see the investments go toward. And we'll have a better understanding of the efficacy of these investments after the 2-year period.
That's helpful. A quick follow-up. So I see that there's quite a large portion of at least the year one allocation going to the Sheriff's Department to help with people that are coming through that need support. And I believe that that's increasing the number from their current program that they were doing from 50 to, I think it's going up by 100 or 100 additional. I just want 100 additional people that can be served with these dollars?
The program was started as a pilot with 50 individuals served. This will allow for 100 total individuals to be served.
Okay. And so I'm assuming that that's time, that's like is that additional clinicians, that's additional people, labor to provide that service. And then also I see that there's quite a bit that's set aside for education, which is great, but I see it's focused really on like the middle school, high school, that sort of thing, although the average age of the person, the people that are overdosing and succumbing to these opioid problems it's like in their early 40s, right? And so how are we providing education to those people that are most likely to succumb to the opioid addictions?
Yeah, a couple other parts of the plan would address the educating more than just our young people in a prevention arena. One is the first item in the table around education and awareness campaigns. So we would have an online resource that is comprehensive of all the resources in the community and use our media partners to do targeted campaigns in specific areas on specific topics around opioid use disorder. So we are planning an investment. There's some funds in here to support that. Also, I think the Recovery Coach program, the Recovery Coach is such a key partner in a person's journey. They're there to educate and inform as well. So by adding Recovery Coaches in the community, we'll support more folks in all age ranges, as you mentioned. Did you want to add something about that?
Yeah, just the importance of reducing stigma across all segments of the population, and we do have audience with providers and a number of venues that we can continue to work and educate them, and also to empower them to share information with the people that they serve. So I think the relationships that we have with those provider groups, and along with that opioid task force that Rachel and Dr. Quartz, our co-chairs of, are really important for that community education part, and this awareness campaign that Jenny mentioned is going to be very important. I think sometimes we assume that people know what to do or where to go, and we find that's just not the case in so many instances. And in the aftermath of so many of these tragedies, we learned that there were opportunities that could have perhaps been met had we had greater awareness of what those resources are in the community.
If I may.
Yes. Yeah, finish up and then Commissioner Wooden will be next.
One extra question. Okay, so I guess this is really close to my heart, right? Of having so many family members that have overdosed and passed away from this. And so doing the same thing that we've been doing before, I don't think is acceptable when we have all of this money, right? We have an opportunity to make a change and change lives and potentially save lives. And so I would just ask that as the committee is trying to determine what they will focus on in the upcoming years, that we focus on doing something different and not what has been done, because that's clearly not working when, Black people are succumbing to, they're actually dying 3 times, at least I believe 3 times more from this than our white counterparts. And so it is important for us to really think about if the system was working right, I don't think that we would be where we are. And so continuing to do the same is not acceptable, and I won't support anything that's the same thing that we've been doing. So I would just ask that you involve us where necessary and where we can to help provide some of those priorities, or at least focus areas where we think it might be a good idea. I know we're not the health, we're not the doctors, we're not the people that actually run the programs, but I do think it's important for us to make sure that our constituents are represented in ways that is going to provide some benefit from this one-time influx of money to really make a difference in our communities.
Yeah, and Commissioner McLeod, you are heard loud and clear on that, and I think all members of our opioid task force would agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And I think this is an example of the good and the perfect. And this is good, this plan. I'm proud of the plan that we brought to you. But to be clear, it's not perfect. And it falls far short of what can be done and should be done in the community to address this problem. It's not enough. But it's the resources that we have. And it's a settlement that was brought to us. And so we've had this task force, not just the task force, but also your Community Health Action Committee and the county's Family and Children's Coordinating Council and the Opioid Overdose Review Committee and so many others that have looked at this and have really struggled and wrestled with this. There have been some heated debates in those spaces that have been really healthy and good. And I don't think you would find one person that would say this is within those groups, that would say this is exactly how I would spend the money if it were my plan alone. But together, I think this is the best shot that we're pulling together for these first couple of years. And we want to be very intentional about learning lessons along the way and having metrics in place and reviewing the outcomes and how these resources are being spent so that we can adjust this into the next couple of years and then doing more new things. I know the spending with the jail is a particular concern that many have. When we all realize that that really is not sustainable and that we all want to find a pathway to sustainable funding for that care at the jail so that we can divert more of these monies going forward into other more innovative things in the community. So we agree with you completely, Commissioner McLeod, and we'll do that.
Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. I had a few quick questions. First, the medicated assisted treatment, the increasing of individuals served from 50 to 100, is that 100 annually, or is that the total number of patients that can be served at any given time who are spending time in our jail?
I believe that's 100 annually. I don't know if I stand corrected. It sounds, Ross, come on up. Ross.
Sheriff Young unfortunately had another commitment. She was getting an accreditation certificate today, so couldn't be here, but Ross has been involved in the program.
Wonderful.
In a couple of roles.
Yeah, good morning, Ross, Butendorp TBD Solutions. I was formerly at Network 180 for almost a quarter century and worked closely with the Kent County Correctional Facility and the sheriff and the undersheriff and the chief deputy. The major changes with the jail is that right now, and I think Adam said this, right? It's good, and we need to go more toward perfection. Right now, when people are identified, they're not necessarily put on that medication right away. Thereby, they're in withdrawal, and it's uncomfortable, and we might not be able to get them into treatment before they leave. Now, the funding is for therapists, but it's also for a dedicated prescriber who is an expert in addiction medicine. And so that we will be able to, in Kent County, put people on the appropriate medication, educate them, so that when they are out, then they will have a place to go. So we've got Corewell Addiction Clinic, which has same-day access. So we believe by bringing that bottom up, that we're going to be able to treat individuals quicker in the jail, and they'll be safer when they get out. Any questions on that?
Commissioner Wooden.
So just to be clear, it's not 100 annual, that's the total number of people that can be served at a given time?
I believe so.
Okay.
And Lindsay Cole's not here, and she's kind of the keeper of all that data. And I think we have right now, like around 30 individuals at the jail currently that are on a medication for opioid use disorders. But we can increase that number if we have the appropriate staffing and a prescriber.
Wonderful. And then the other question, this was, and feel free to field this off to someone else if need be. The data we do have on deaths related to overdose, do we know how many of those individuals spent time in our jail beforehand? And is there a higher likelihood that someone who has spent time in our jail who happens to also have a substance use disorder tied to opioids is more likely to die from an overdose?
So, I mean, I can speak to, it's absolutely evident that if an individual with an opiate use disorder goes into the jail and they're there for 30 or 40 days, they become opiate naive. What happens is they go out, they use the same amount that they were using, which now puts them, they're predisposed now to overdose. Okay. I know that in talking with the sheriff, one of the reasons why the Kent County Sheriff's Department moved in this direction a number of years ago was, that same issue. People were overdosing, people were dying coming out of the jail. Yeah. So, trying to be good community, to be a good law enforcement, right? So that is one of the big indicators of why we're trying to protect these individuals.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'll just add that as part of the overdose fatality review, we've seen a number of decedents that have recently, within the last few months before they died, were incarcerated at Kent County Correctional Facility. We are in the works of having a conversation about a data sharing agreement with Sheriff's Office and the Health Department to be able to see how many of our decedents recently spent time in the jail. That's going to help us with the evaluation of this MAT in the jail. Just to see tracking that trend over time.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful to hear, and I think I share Commissioner McLeod's concerns, and I'm happy to see that in the line items we have that are I would kind of associate with trying to tread water, are also trying to find ways to get out of the water. And certainly think it's crucial that we report out on this over time to see how successful it is. I would also echo that it may make sense in future discussions to involve a member of this body just to be that bridge, right? Oftentimes when we have stakeholders and admin, we have a member of this body serve as kind of a someone who has a leg in or as a leg in both sides, and can try to act as that bridge so that we can ensure that the outcomes are as positive as possible. So thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for all the time you've given us this morning, and I really appreciate the work that's been done by all those involved. This is definitely an epidemic in our community, and I think all of us around the dais here have known someone who's been impacted by opioid addiction, and this is great to see this plan moving forward, and I look forward to seeing some good results from it. So if there's not any other questions or comments, did you have something else that you wanted to say? All right, let's take a vote here. So all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda comes from the Sheriff's Office, and it's the fiscal year 2023 State Homeland Security Grant and Budget Amendment.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept the FY 2023 State Homeland Security Grant from the State of Michigan Department of State Police to appropriate $208,979 to the FY 2024 Sheriff Emergency Management Homeland Security budget in the Special Projects Fund and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the intergovernmental agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary. The Michigan Department of State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division provides federal pass-through funds from Homeland Security programs. The purpose of the FY 2023 Homeland Security Grant Program is to prevent, deter, respond to, and recover from incidents of national significance, including but not limited to threats and incidents of terrorism. Starting with the grant year 2006, Homeland Security grant funding allotments were allocated on a regional basis. Kent County was placed into Region 6, which is part of a 13-county region. The fiduciary for the grant is West Michigan Regional Medical Consortium. Grant funds will be used to cover the personnel costs of the Homeland Security Planner, as well as for equipment purchases as determined by the local planning team of Kent County. The grant period is September 1, 2023 through May 31, 2026. Corporate Counsel will review and approve the intergovernmental grant agreement as to form.
All right, is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Green. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Wooden. Questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Is there any Commissioner miscellaneous? Anything you want to add to the conversation today? All right, we are adjourned, and our next meeting will be on Tuesday, July 9 at 8:30 a.m. Thank you.